Hello everybody, welcome to Story Time with Rin. I will be your host, Rinjamin Button. Today's topic is modesty, and more specifically is my journey into modesty, how I became a modest woman. It didn't happen overnight, and I did not start out like this. So this has been a process and a journey, and today we will dive into it. So it all began in about June of 2018. I was teaching hula hoop with the Circle of Life hula hoop organization, and we were going into schools, and normally we were going into schools during the fall or the springtime, but we were teaching in the summer, in the heat of summer. Very hot, very hot in Missouri, like in St. Louis specifically, like 90 degrees. And this was in my new age hippie days, and in those days I did not shave. I did not shave at all. And I thought it was beautiful. I thought your natural hair is the most beautiful thing, and like everyone should have their hair just natural or whatever. But the catch was that I was not confident about my leg hair because it's dark, and I just was not confident about it. And I had already taught this the previous summer, in the summer of 2017. We taught in schools, and all the kids were like, "Oh, look at her hair, look at her legs." I was like, kids? But because I wasn't confident, I didn't use it as a teaching moment to teach them about the beauty of natural hair, anything like that. I just felt embarrassed and then didn't want to deal with it. So then I shaved my legs that summer. But then the summer of 2018, I decided that I was not going to shave. I was embracing my natural body hair as I had been doing, and if I wasn't gonna shave, and I didn't want kids to make fun of me, which they did, I didn't want them to make fun of me anymore. I was going to just cover my legs and my shoulders because I had hairy armpits at that time. So I did not want to have that all out and have kids be disgusted, because that's what they would do, and I didn't feel like explaining myself or dealing with it at all. And I just wasn't confident enough to be like, this is beautiful, because I didn't fully believe that it was beautiful. I was like, I think it's beautiful, but my heart does not feel that way. You know what I mean? So it was just like, I didn't want to deal with this. So I started I have this long dress. It's like colorful and flowy. So I would just wear that literally every week that I went there. That's all you would see was dress and shirt. Yeah, that's what I would wear there. So I didn't have to deal with the children making fun of me. I don't know if any of y'all have been made fun of by children. If you're mature, it's fine. But if you're not, it's like, how are you gonna point out my flaws like that, child? So I just, didn't want to deal with it. That's what began my journey. That was around the time that I started coming to the church for real. I was teaching, and then I started going to mass that summer. That was the summer that everything hit the fan, and I was like having a really hard time. That was that summer. But after that, like towards the end of that summer, I started going to mass, and going to mass, I was wearing just like short dresses, you know, not really caring. But it was the same situation, that I didn't want my hairy legs / hairy armpits to be exposed to the world, especially to church folk. I was like, you're not going to see this. So I was wearing like knee-high socks and like shawls and things. So that's when I started covering up, because I was going to mass a little bit. After having my reversion experience, where I finally accepted that I was Catholic, I started going to mass on a weekly basis. I started going to mass every Sunday. My style kind of started shifting a little bit to, it still is like hippie-esque, if you will, but it started shifting to be what would be acceptable in the presence of our Lord in church, so in mass. So I started wearing more modest clothes on that front, and then I would still wear pants. So I only wear skirts now. Like I literally only wear skirts, and except for when I'm sleeping, I'm gonna get a nightgown though. So you know, I'm getting a nightgown because I want one. It sounds like fun. But anyhow, so I wear pants and I wear skirts, and then there was an incident that made me want to cover my butt completely, right? So I was wearing pants one day, and I was going to class. I will not say what class and with whom, but I was going to class and I had a professor, and he was a male professor, and we were talking about something in front of us, and I was like looking at the thing I was talking about, and I turned back to look at him, and he was like doing one of these where he was he was checking me out while I was looking forward, and I was like really probably very awkward about it, but then he was like flustered and said something, and I just like pretended that it didn't happen, because I don't really like confrontation, you know, but I would stand up for myself if it was like, you need to stand up for yourself, but I was just like, no. But that was the line in which I was like, now my butt's getting covered forever. And yes, it's not just because one person looked at my butt. I know that he's not the only person that looked at my butt, because lots of people look at butts all the time. If you just take a moment to think about how many butts you've looked at, it's probably a lot. I used to look at people's butts all the time. I would look at men, women, not children. As a child, I'm not like looking at their butt. I would just look at people's butts just to see like, he's got a nice butt, or she's got a cute butt. Ladies, it was always like, oh, she's got a cute butt, you know what I mean? It's not like sexual in any way. But I just realized that like when the butt is exposed, I am looking at the butt. That's just like, that's what it is. And now I just try not to look at the butts, you know? I'm just like, don't look at the butts, because I don't want to look at your butt anymore, but I did. And I think a lot of people look at butts all the time. And if you just think about how many butts you've probably seen a lot of butts, and you've probably rated those butts, if that's a good butt, if that's a bad butt, if that's a big butt, if it's a little butt, like you've looked at the butts and you've rated the butts, how much you like the butt. But anyways, that is why I was like, I'm covering my butt now, because my butt is just out here, and when it's exposed, people look at it, and I decided, like, I didn't feel comfortable with those eyes upon my butt. I was like, I don't want your eyes on my butt, sir. Especially like a sir who is supposed to be my superior, like my teacher, who I'm supposed to respect. And I'm like, well, now you can't even control your eyes, and you're looking at my butt. But in his defense, my butt was in jeans, and it looked really nice, so he looked at it, you know, but I just didn't want anybody to look at my butt anymore. I was like, no, this is my butt, and my butt is not your butt anymore. I'm reclaiming my butt for myself, and it is no longer yours to look at. So then from that moment on, I started wearing like long sweaters and longer skirts and stuff, and my sister calls it my potato style, but I've always kind of dressed a little potato-y in the fall, just like the bigger the better, and I could just like hang out in my clothes and not have to expose my butt / other body parts to anybody who I don't want to see them. If you think your butt's not getting looked at when it's out, you're wrong, because people look at butts all the time. It's just part of the culture. People like looking at butts. Once I started wanting to cover my butt all the time, it kind of progressed into naturally wearing more skirts, where I was just gravitating towards wearing more skirts because that was easy enough to cover my butt. So that was in March of 2019-ish, whenever I decided that I wanted to cover my butt from then on. But after school was out in May, I started going to daily mass because I had all this free time, and I was like, I'm going to mass every day, you know, as one does when you come back to the church and really excited about like going to mass and everything, which I still love mass and everything. I think I started spending time like in the presence of God a lot, and then I just naturally wanted to cover my chest. It was just kind of like, I want to cover it. It wasn't like, you need to cover it because you're this. It was just like a natural revelation of my spirit, like, you want to do this, and I want to. So that just kind of happened. And if I had a shirt that was like lower cut, I would just wear a shawl over it to go to mass, because that's just what I felt was appropriate. But then I kind of was like, well, if I'm covering at mass, like, why do I want this part of me to be exposed anywhere else? Like, why do I want anybody else to see this at any other time? And truth be told, I did not. I just didn't want it to be exposed anymore, and that was conviction. It was like a conviction of my spirit to cover it. So that's what I ended up doing. And then naturally as well, I started gravitating towards dressing like that all the time, because I was doing it for a particular purpose, which I was going to every day. And then it kind of changed my style, which I didn't want to be I didn't want to be exposed. Like I didn't want my chest out. I didn't even want my shoulders out because they're beautiful. Like they're beautiful shoulders, and I want them to be covered because they're beautiful, and I don't want anyone to look at me with lust. I just don't. And it's really changed the way people look at me. It's changed the way like men look at me. Like sometimes I just float on by and nobody bats an eye, which is lovely. It's like, yes, going on with my life. But like when I dressed, just like, you know, if I had my boobs out, I was wearing like a mini skirt, you know, I wasn't dressing modestly. It was just like always like, you know what I mean? Like look back, look, maybe not so dramatic, but you know, I definitely noticed when people were looking at me, and I would just like pretend not to see it because I'm just like, can't even with you. But I was flaunting, you know, you gotta flaunt it, but no, I was flaunting it and it was getting attention. I didn't want that attention. And it's a natural thing. Like the body is beautiful. It's very, very beautiful, and it is attractive. And when people see it, they look at it, and then people have thoughts about it, or it turns them on, or they start thinking about like what they would do, and it's like, you won't do anything because I'm completely covered, so there's nothing for you to do, there's nothing for you to see. So it's like it's protecting as well. And it's not just like, oh, that's the culture we live in where people need to be covered in order to be protected. It's actually how the human being is wired to be attracted to these parts of the body. It's natural. It's completely natural to be attracted to the body parts. So when they're exposed, it takes extreme willpower to not be attracted, to not go into lust, to not go into desire about it. It takes extreme willpower, and I think that most people don't have that level of self-mastery to like to one, even just not look, or two, to like see it and like let it pass you by without letting it affect you in any way. I think the body is beautiful, and I have no shame about my body at all. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I want it to be covered until it is time for it to be uncovered, literally just by my husband whenever we get married. I'm not engaged yet, but when we do, that'll be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Beautiful. But for now, and until I die, really, I'm just going to be a modest woman, and that's what happened. Just prefer to be covered. Nobody made me do this because I'm Catholic. It wasn't because of my religion necessarily, because the church didn't come down and be like, you need to dress modestly, because the church is not doing those types of things these days. But I do enjoy my modest dress, and I do fit in with a particular group of people, religious people who dress modestly, and I'm just like, hello, welcome ladies. Nice to see your skirts, because they all have skirts too. But anyhow, that's how it happened. And that is what I'm going with. I dress modestly even at the beach. It started off just like wearing a regular bikini, and then I started wearing like a sports bra and shorts type of thing, and then I got like a little skirt and a crop top, and now I literally have a full-on swim shirt and a swim skirt, and I know I know what it looks like, all right? That's where I'm at, and that's where I want to be, because I don't want my body to be exposed to anybody who I don't want it to see it, especially random strangers, random dudes, random women. Like I don't want it to be exposed to people that don't need to see it, even if I'm at the beach. Because it kind of was like, if I'm wearing a bra at the beach, or if I'm wearing like a bikini at the beach, that's no different than being in my bra and underwear. And people are like, yes, it's different because you're going swimming. Well, sure, I'm going swimming, but the level of exposure is the same. So I'm not comfortable doing that anymore. So I do wear my skirt, my little skirt and my little shirt to the beach, and I'm just like, I look like, I don't know, that's just what I want to wear, so it's what I wear. And I know people probably think I'm a nerd, capital N, but I don't care. I like it. Honestly, I like it. I like my little skirt and my little shirt. I'm just like covered, and I have a lot of fun wearing my skirts and my shirts. I don't miss out on being like naked or scantily dressed. I don't feel like I'm missing anything by dressing the way I dress. I like it. I think it's beautiful. How many times do I say I like it? A lot. Okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just say I love it, and then we'll call it at that. I love it. And this is how I got to be a modest woman. If you want to dress modestly, that's cool. I appreciate it. And if you don't, If anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. I will be happy to answer them. Nobody's ever asked me anything on the internet yet, like, hey, what do you think about this? So I'm still willing to do that because no one's ever asked me, and I would love to be like, hey, this is what I think about this. If anyone cares, just let me know. Well, I love you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Jesus, for allowing me to speak on this. Appreciate it. And I borrowed my sister's light. She came into town and I'm borrowing her light. That's why I got really fancy for this. This is my skirt. This is the skirt. Here we are. We're doing these. Skirt and boots, skirt and boots.